Greetings, fellow keepers and fellow Kongers. It's Soniel here with the Keeper's Corner. I know it's been quite a while since we've uploaded any new videos. I'm very sorry for that. We've been a little bit busy. And of course, with the 1.9 and 1.91 updates, I'm sure everybody has been super anxious to get my take on the new epic weapons, on the new guild boss, on all of the new changes and things. So before anything else, we'll have a quick look at all of the new epic tiered weapons here, as well as the new armors. We're going to go in first and have a look at the Praetor's Righteousness. So this is the first weapon I personally crafted. The initiative and initial soul energy here are really unseen on any existing items. There are, of course, a few initiative boosting items, but nothing with a 0.5 initiative boost. It's important to note that that takes a hero like the Ninja, when combined with a 7-star Ranger, down to 0.0 or 0.1 or 0.2 initiative. So, I mean, that's basically an instant action for the Ninja. It's important to mention, too, there's been a little bit of confusion or misconception about how initiative works. Initiative affects the starting cycle of your hero. So if they have a lower initiative, that just means that they go first. It doesn't affect their successive attacks or successive skills. Rather, that is determined by cooldown reduction. However, it is very important in this case because that 0.5 initiative, along with the 50 soul energy, 50 soul energy is just 25 short of a ninja being able to cast his poison smoke bomb right at the outset of a battle. So when you add that bonus initiative, he's going to usually throw a Shadow Slash, Shadow Step, Shirk, and throw before the enemy has a chance to do anything, which is going to give you that extra 25 soul energy so that you're basically casting a free instant smoke bomb. It's not quite enough energy for too many other soul skills, but this is an incredibly high value item. Unfortunately, as you can see, my game doesn't show the damage numbers on these weapons and armor rating on the armors. There are a number of people. I've had that problem since I started playing the game back in January, unfortunately. But I can tell you that at equivalent levels, the damage is about the same as a Vorpal Sword, so at 61, you're looking at 150 damage or so. But the upside is that each Tier 2 epic weapon goes up to level 75. So at max level, you're looking at about 330, 340 attack with max enchantments, and right about 180 damage rating. The next item, of course, is the One-Handed Hacking King's Hammer. This is kind of the reciprocate of the Ambushers. This is a defensive-oriented weapon. It does have a higher damage rating, but of course you lose the crit chance, the initiative, the cooldown reduction. And in place of the 10% cooldown reduction, you get 5% for your whole party. As you may have noticed with the Praetor's Righteousness, the cost on some of these items is pretty high, looking at 584,000 gold, along with 19 Void Cores to craft a King's Hammer. While this is a tremendously valuable weapon for defensive-oriented builds on the War Master, the Cleric, things like that, when fully maxed out and enchanted, it's going to give about 200 more defense than an Ambusher's Hacker at max level and max enchantments. And of course, it's important to note that when you combine two of these, you're getting 10% cooldown for your whole party. So, for example, in a classic Shaman Knight PvP team, you're going to get 10% on both your Knight and your Shaman if you wear one of these on your Cleric and your War Master. Now coming over to the One-Handed Stabbing, this is widely considered to be the single most powerful and most effective new weapon so far, especially on really any of these heroes, but especially on the Blackguard, the Valkyrie, and the Necromancer. It even boosts the Swashbuckler and the Pirate into some level of viability. It's very important to note, it is, again, the reciprocate of its previous tier, where the Dark Defender is a heavily defensive-based weapon. This is an attack-based weapon. Fully maxed out, you're looking at 88 damage on a Dark Defender, although we don't see it here. At level 75, this Piercing Blade is 150 damage or so. It's about 70 more overall damage points, and well over 150 bonus attack. And of course, we're looking at the 6% critical chance and 20% armor penetration. A lot of people put a lot of weight into this armor penetration. It is not nearly as important as the base crit chance or the damage rating. 6% critical chance is significant. The next item here we have is the wand, the Graymarrow Wand. As far as I know, I don't think anybody's crafted this yet. As you can see, the cost is extraordinarily high. at 825,000 gold with 28 void cores. It does have 10% all resistances, pretty high attack rating, decent defense rating, and it gives a true damage type. Now it's important to note that functions as an elemental effect, basically. So it's not going to convert your base damage to true damage. It's going to give a slight modifier as if you were using a fire or ice element weapon that's going to add a little bit of bonus true damage onto your attacks. So that's one I would definitely suggest waiting for. The two-handed slashing weapon, however, is somewhat expensive, but it does appear to be a fairly high return item. As you can see, there is no defensive property here, so using it on a tank-based samurai or Templar, they're going to need some really good armor to make up for that lack of defense. But looking at the 3% critical chance and damage, the cooldown reduction, and the 20% armor penetration, as well as, again, a great base damage rating that we unfortunately can't see on this device, it's going to vault at max level a 7-star samurai up into actually being able to output some viable damage ratings, or damage numbers, rather. The few players that have crafted these, their samurai are now hitting for 5, 6, 7, even 800 damage with their mighty strikes on regular hits, and upwards of 1,200 to 1,300 on critical strikes. The two-handed hacking, a lot expected it to be a tremendous upgrade for the Berserker for tower defense. The few that I've run into are actually pretty easy to defend against. That is unfortunate, of course. It does appear that the damage rating on it is fairly low. And for the investment, I would definitely steer clear of that one. Same with the Spear of Pain here. This is another huge investment. For a pretty low return being available only on the Amazon and the Cavalier. That's one I would wait a little bit for. The Two-Handed Staff is another one that's a massive investment. It's important to note that it does have a damage type of light at fully maxed stats, which would be level 75 and plus 11 enchantments. This thing has, I want to say 340 attack rating, 250 defense rating, and 270 damage rating. So its raw stats really outclass the previous epics. And it's important to note, with the level 75 max, almost every one of these new items is going to outclass their tier 1 counterparts just on pure base statistics when they're fully leveled up and fully enchanted. Another one here, though, that's important to look at is the Trueshot Bow. It's very important to note that this is a bow that has an additional damage type. It has the reduction to enemy dodge, plus 5% dodge, and critical chance critical damage. This is a very valuable bow. I would put this around 4th in the tier slots of new weapons, with the Piercing Blade, the Praetor's Righteousness, the King's Hammer, and the Shaman Fist that we're going to look at being above this item, and this one falling just below those. And then, of course, we do have the Gladiators Talons, which we just mentioned. This is the new Shaman Fist. It's an immediate and massive upgrade over the Jade Fist in terms of base attack rating and base damage rating. At max level, it's got about 240 damage or something like that. So it's important to note, again, that with all of these new items, the ability for them to level up to level 75 overall is pretty significant. And then we'll have a quick look at the armors as well. The Fortress is the new plate armor. It's looking at the number one value of this is the immunity to critical hits. Otherwise, it's important to note that statistically, it's pretty close to the Strength of Legend. Of course, it has a little bit less magic resistance, has a little bit less bonus health. So those things are kind of going to balance out the change in defense. But again, with the max level being 75, a fully maxed Fortress is typically going to have better defense and armor rating over its Tier 1 counterpart. And the Chainmail has a much higher base attack rating and defense rating than the existing Dragon Scale Tier 1 epic. And you're going to be getting 600 health instead of 300. You're going to get a flat 8% magic resistance instead of that 15% to fire, shadow, and ice, or fire, poison, and ice that you get from the Dragon Scale. So a little bit less, but it covers the shadow, the lightning, and the other things that the previous epic doesn't. It's important to note that fully maxed out, this is going to have about 60 more attack and defense than the Tier 1 counterpart, and about 3% more armor. In my opinion, the Chain is probably the highest value new epic. And then we have the Living Leather, which again has an attack rating, unlike the Wormhide, which has 0 attack. It's got, again, a large health boost, a 30% poison resistance, 10% magic, and very importantly, as this 75 HP regenerated every 3 turns. It's important to note that when used on the Druid, her healing passive is going to improve the healing per tick on that, which is going to make this a high value item for her. And then, of course, we have the Cloth, the Spellthread Robe. This is going to give you some magic resistance, but it's also going to give you that 10% boost to elemental damage. And that's going to apply basically like an element damage on a weapon. Now, because it's only 10%, you're going to see damage additions of 7 to 10 to 15 damage. It's pretty low value in terms of damage improvement. This is, in my opinion, the least valuable new epic armor. I would likely hold off on crafting any of these for as long as possible. We have made a few of these items so far. We'll have a quick look at the Piercing Blade, for example, which is what many have considered to be the high-value epic here. And as I had said, it's about 150 damage at full max level, about 320 attack. Of course, we're 1 level shy of that 74 there, or 75 there. But again, in terms of crafting priority, we'll cover all that in depth a little bit more in a new video to update our old crafting progression videos. But again, just for starters, I would really tier it as the Piercing Blade first, the Praetor's Righteousness second, the King's Hammer third, the Gladiators Talon fist fourth, the Trueshot Bow fifth, the Two-Handed Slashing weapon, the Reaver would be sixth, then everything else would fall behind that. In terms of the armor, I would tier the Chainmail first, the Epic Plate, the Fortress second, the Living Leather the third, and the Spellthread Robe fourth. Again, we'll come back and we'll have a little bit more in-depth look at all those. I just wanted to get a quick glance over all of the new epics, especially for any lower-level players who haven't been able to see them at all yet. Of course, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the Keeper's Corner. Leave any comments or suggestions, like this video, thumbs up, all that good groovy stuff, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.